Yeah, okay, I can see you.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm here with Lisa, and we have some exciting news for the Highly Sensitive in Ireland group. The news, and we're going to have a chat about being highly sensitive and what it is, what are some of the benefits and some of the challenges as well, and how we manage our sensitivity in a day-to-day way. So the exciting news is that Lisa is going to start to run the group now. I'm sure some of you may have noticed that I'm actually have moved towards working with highly sensitive people. Realistically, they're all really heart-centered, and I'm helping them to start and grow their holistic business. So I really wanted this group to continue to be a safe space for us, highly sensitive people, and Lisa is working more specifically with highly sensitive people and introverts, and I'll let her explain herself now, but I thought she'd be a really good match to to run the group and add some energy to it. So Lisa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice. Yeah, so I'm a coach. I'm a personal development coach, and I work a lot with sensitive, intuitive women who struggle with things like people pleasing, perfectionism, overachieving, all of these kind of behaviors that kind of block them from who they are. So it's kind of perfect because since I've discovered that I'm a HSP, it's been just so helpful. So I feel like now it's lovely to have a community, especially in Ireland, because I think it's such a new thing. So yeah, I'm excited to take over. A little bit nervous, but I'm excited. So thanks so much.
Brilliant. Well, I'm really, really delighted. Myself and Lisa connected a few weeks ago, and we're gonna have a conversation now as well around high sensitivity.
Yeah.
So you know us both through that more, and hopefully it'll spark some insights or conversation if other people want to join in the comments. So I suppose that's all of the housekeeping around logistics. But yeah, I suppose, Lisa, do you want to talk about a little bit about, some people are very new to learning about their sensitivity, and maybe you could give a little bit of an overview of it and talk about how you came across the work around high sensitivity, and then my own experience after.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, it's kind of a relatively new thing within the last maybe 2 years. I kind of had come across it on so I've been interested in like personal development for years, and like I always knew I was like very sensitive and very deep. I used to describe myself as deep when I was younger. I'd be like, I really like deep conversations. I have deep friendships. Everything about me was always like the things I watched. Like I always consider myself deep. That was like how I described it. I knew like it was different from some other people. And then I kind of identified as an empath, like feeling other people's energies and everything. I was always very intuitive in that way. And so I think I just came across it on Instagram one day. Someone said like the traits of highly sensitive people. And I didn't think it was an actual thing. I didn't really take it seriously until I was in a job where basically was a highly sensitive person's nightmare. So I was teaching adults English in Dublin, and I'd have like 4 classes a day. So I would basically, each class had maybe 15 people. So every day would be like just like such overstimulation every day. And it ended up really taking its toll on me. And I had to, I started to see a therapist just to like be able to cope with everything and like everything that was happening, like emotionally, physically, everything. And then my therapist mentioned highly sensitive person again and again and again. And I only started taking it seriously then when he sent me a podcast actually about being highly sensitive and the actual biological traits of it and and how it shows up in your life and how you can adapt your life to kind of honor it and take it seriously. So I think like that was when I started to kind of identify with it more. And then I joined some Facebook groups and I just felt like, oh my God, this makes so much sense why I've been struggling so much in this job. And to kind of explain the different ways, like I use the does analogy. I think it's online, DOES. So like depth of processing, definitely have that. And the always overstimulation. That was what I was struggling with in the job massively. The E, empathy, and then the S is like the stimulation, sensory stimulus. So yeah, it's really validated my experiences in a lot of my jobs and throughout my whole life. And since I figured it out, it's been a lot easier to just, I don't know, honor it and take it seriously and like find other people that are similar and realize like that it's okay to adapt your life a little bit to match your tendencies. So that's honestly like, it's really changed my life since I kind of took it seriously and started adapting to it. Yeah. What about you? What's been your...
Yeah, I suppose that's really interesting to hear your journey with figuring it out, and I also had the same experience of people always said you're very sensitive, but it was never in a good way, as I'm sure everyone has that experience of. It was like you're too sensitive, and I always knew I felt like things stronger in terms of than the people around me in terms of like getting my feelings hurt and things. But I always thought that it was a bad thing, like it was a weakness, and so that was the emotional thing of it. Like I was like, why do I care more than everyone else? That was one thing that I really found hard and disliked about myself, really. And then another thing was around this sensory stimulation part, and that was like I didn't really realize that it was a thing, but in hindsight I have always adapted my life to take it into account. Like I even remember when I was like 18 and used to go out to like discos or whatever, everyone knew that they had to let me dance by the wall where there was no one bashing into me, and like different little small things, like everyone knew you had to, like my friends were always like, oh my God, Kira's gone hungry, you have to feed her, because like I just be like la 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 and then be like boom.
I had the same thing, with the food. Like my mom said, I would just be like, I couldn't even speak until I had a dinner in me. Like I would just be,
exactly,
totally.
those kind of things. So like I'd always have to bring food with me, and the same with like I was always very sick with different foods as a child. Like I would have been a very fussy eater, and like people can say the arguments the two ways. Oh, you became very sensitive to food because you're fussy, but I don't agree with that. I think our bodies are very intuitive, and I know that I am fussy, have always been fussy, because it just doesn't agree with me. Like I feel sick. I can get sick from food very easily and very quickly. And the same, like my mom washing my clothes when I was younger, like I always used to get hives. I always, like, loads of different things are so hard to do with the sensory, and total overstimulation as well, which still happens. Realistically, it's probably I'm careful with my food, but I still get very overstimulated food sensory wise. So, and again, these are all things I think that I would have always hidden and hated. And when I read the book, I was actually traveling only a few years ago, 3 years ago. I was in New Zealand, and I read the book on the Kindle, and I was literally like I couldn't. It felt like a fortune teller was in the book. I was just like, oh God, was dying to tell would listen. I was like, you cannot believe this. And so that just gave me so much healing. I found it like one of the most healing books I've ever read, from the point of view of being somebody seeing what is a challenge for me and telling me it's okay, basically. So
yeah. Oh my God, yeah, I love that so much, because I always said, like, I had always had the feeling that like the world just isn't built for sensitives. So I always felt like I was trying to adapt myself to the world, and everything you said there of like all those traits that you hated, it's because you don't see it, or you see other people not struggling with those things. And so you're like, I need to, well, for me, I was like, I need to be more resilient. I need to get a thicker skin. Like, you know, I hate that this holds me back so much. Like, but I almost feel like fighting against it. It just makes it so much worse. Like, it compounds it so much, because you're just fighting against something that you can't, like, it's just part of you. And you, like, if you're fighting against it, then you're really in conflict with yourself, and you're just never going to thrive. And there are so many positive parts of it too, you know, that I feel like it get lost when you're, you know, trying to keep up with other people. And it's funny that you said like the ways that you did naturally like find ways to adapt to being more sensitive, like the just like needing to be near a wall. Like I would have been the same, like those little things, like going on like group holidays or something. Like I would have known that would have like kind of sent me over the edge, like being on a holiday or with or being around people too much. I always felt like I became another person when I was like around people for too long. And I was like, okay, I need to find a way that I can have an exit, or like I have to bring my car so I can leave early just in case I get like too, you know, like overstimulated and like frazzled, you know.
I actually, I hadn't even made that connection now until you said that, but I literally, I stopped drinking when I was like, I don't know, well, like it was because I was very sensitive to it, but definitely I loved having my car to be able to leave whenever I felt like it, you know. Just I really don't love, and as well, I still don't love going. Sometimes I don't love going away places for like the night. I prefer to go somewhere for the day and then come home and sleep in my own bed, because it's just an effort to get myself ready to go. There's so much, like, as you said, you're with people all the time, all of that. So I'm just like, I can go and give it my all, and then I need to go home.
Yeah. And it's like giving yourself that time to like decompress. Like I always knew, like even still, like if I'm in like a supermarket or IKEA, oh my God, I'm great for the first, like I was in IKEA last week. I just knew it's the same pattern every time. Like I'm fine for the first like 45 minutes, loving life. And then like after an hour, I'm just like, oh my God, get me out of here. Like my brain starts to feel like it's like sizzling or something. And like that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but I had that feeling like I want to go into a dark room and just like stare at the wall and like not talk to anybody for a good 15 minutes so I can like think properly. And it would happen a lot traveling too. Like I went on a road trip and just like, it was amazing. All the amazing things I was seeing, like we were driving through these like beautiful mountains, and it was so good, because I feel like highly sensitives feel the positives too, like so strongly. I felt everything so much, but I just had to like not look at it, because there was just too much that was going into my mind that I started to feel like overwhelmed and overstimulated again. So
I never felt when I was traveling again in New Zealand. Actually, I every evening we used to put up the tent, and my friend used to go off to take more photos on the beach and sunset. I was like, I'm just staying in the car, just going to be here. I did my meditation, but I was like, I had to have my time, first of all, on my own, but second of all, just to kind of feel. I remember saying it was like, I need to just feel like I'm here. If I keep walking and moving, I just don't feel like I'm here. I needed just a minute to stay here. So I used to spend like an hour or two every evening just sitting in the car, because it was warm, there's no mozzies, you know, loads of other things, and it was like just being there. And I love the way you actually mentioned there about the positives as well, because maybe we could talk about that.
Definitely.
Really in the book, because there was so many things about myself that I hadn't appreciated or thought was of any use to anyone in any way. I always remember wishing that I knew what I that's me getting distracted from the noise. I that I would, some people you're like, oh, they're brilliant at this or they're brilliant at that. I was always like, I felt like I was this kind of like not really very good at anything in particular, because I feel like I have this kind of ability to merge into and be part of whatever, or help in whatever. I just thought it was like invisible skills, but actually what I came to realize from the benefits from reading the book was like, okay, so your eye is you're more sensitive to the stuff that you take in. So I was like, oh, that explains why I'm actually really good at taking photos. I'm like the doctor of my family. Like everyone knows how to pose and move and get into the photo person. Like they don't see what I see, all that kind of stuff, like arranging space. I used to be a teacher, arranging my classroom so that it worked energetically for the kids to circulate and have different spaces for different things. And like all of the subtleties I realised I was actually really good at. And like, again, with the feeling things deeply, obviously we've both become coaches, and this is where I feel like I've always been doing this work, helping people figure things out, to untangle things, to do emotional stuff. I have never been getting paid for it before, but I suppose as a teacher it's the same thing. You have these personal development goals, and you understand the kids so deeply, and you know what they need to develop. So I have always had these skills, but never knew that not everyone has them as in abundance as people who are sensitive and feel things deeply. I just thought everyone felt things the same way. I suppose when it's always been your experience of how you live, you're just like, oh, everyone's the same, but everyone's not. And I love the way of understanding that, okay, so these are my skills, and so when there's something that's like really urgent and really like needs loads of decisions made quickly and all of this, I'm like, that's cool. That's not my role in society. That is not me. So
and that, I think that's so vital, to just like stay in your lane, because like especially I guess in a society where like extroverts are kind of, we're always like the kind of praised thing or like the done thing. Like it's easy to think that like there's something wrong with you if you can't like function in the same level or at the same things as other people. But yeah, like exactly what you said, like you have to see all those things as like gifts and strengths, because they are like and that's why probably you're such a good coach, because people have said that to me and other sensitive people as well, like you can see beneath the layer of what somebody is saying on the surface, like you can see the deeper level underneath it, like what's really happening for them. Or like in a classroom setting, like you said, if somebody comes in and like disrupts the energy, or you can just feel like if somebody's in a bad mood or having a bad day, even if other people would just like not even notice a tiny little like subtlety on their face or something, like people who are more in tune with that will be able to pick up on that, and you like actually be able to tune into that person and like make sure they're okay. So it's that kind of like level of noticing those subtleties in people. And like I think that's such a gift for like therapists, coaches, like everything like that. I've definitely found that for me as well, like in teaching, just I can tell like if somebody is having like a bad day, even if they have like a smile on their face or whatever, it's those little things that I would notice.
And then starting to, I suppose, us having this conversation, and from the book, it really helped me to realize that that's their gifts that people have as highly sensitive people. The way I kind of their gifts, and I mean, sometimes I definitely appreciate being highly sensitive. I totally love it now and accept it, but I'm not saying it's always still easy. It's not. As I said, I still am very prone to like overstimulation, because it's like I still feel like maybe deep down that like I don't want to be able to do less than other people. I don't want to be able to I just don't want to be able to do less. I don't want kind of, so I keep trying to do the same as everyone else, and to say this is a disability at all, but it's to work with our natural style and what we each need. But for me, I know that I need a lot of quiet, a lot of space, time to process things, and to just let them land. So like having a day that's jam-packed with peopling, followed by, something in the evening, and then going to bed, and then getting up the next morning and doing stuff, like I just can't do it. I can do it for a while, and then I just I'm just like staring into space, and so
and it's like you almost have to slow down to speed up as well, just like it's like you have to go with what it is, like you have to accept yourself as you are. Like that's the biggest, I think, thing.
Make and accept and make the best of what your traits are. As you said, your job previously didn't suit your high sensitivity, and like I would say I've had a lot of jobs and experiences that haven't suited either, but it's only, I think I always say, like, awareness is the first step. So once you become aware of your challenges or your gifts, you have to kind of adjust accordingly.
And I read something recently about it that said, like, highly sensitives, like they suffer more than most in a detrimental environment, but they also can thrive more than most in a good environment. So I thought that was really interesting, because it is all about like the environments that you choose to be in and that you put yourself in. Because I noticed that, like, recently, like when I'm traveling or when I'm in a good environment, like I just feel everything like so strongly in the positive as well. So I think it's like giving yourself what you need and what you're craving and what like you feel drawn to. It really can like fill up your heart. Like you can really feel like so energized by those things. I feel like more than most. And like when my boyfriend first met me, he said that like the one thing that drew him in was like that I appreciated the little things. And I think that's such a HSP thing. And it's something that sometimes I lose sight of and I forget. And then I need to like kind of be back present with those again and just like enjoy those. Because that is like, you notice the little things in a negative and the little things in a positive way. So I think it's making sure that your environment is one that you can thrive in and not one that's like battling against your own nature.
Yeah, and I love that, Lisa. And I'm the word that's coming to me while we're talking there is about like advocating, which I think is a nice word, advocating for your needs. And it's when we're going somewhere saying, okay, this is how I'm going to come until this time, or I'm going I'm going to approach it in this way, or I actually, if we go on holidays together for a week, I'm gonna it's important for me that I'll have some evening or some time in the morning when I go for a walk on my own. And like no one else, I think, can mind read for us about what we need. And I think for me it can be hard sometimes to kind of say what I need, because you kind of just want to be convenient and go with the flow. But in fairness, no, people don't care. Like
they don't.
We just need to say it. And when you're appreciating the good and the bad things, like the small things, noticing them, it's like the reason that came to me was like we need to be careful that we're having more, giving ourselves time to appreciate the small things and not going so fast that it feels like too much.
Absolutely. And that's a huge thing. Like I agree completely with what you said. Like I can relate to just like thinking that you can't say it, or that you can't, like, that you're not allowed to ask for it, or like, and that's something that I struggled with for so many years, like even just with my friends, like, you know, just like setting those boundaries. And that's why I do the work I do now, is because like I would have needed that support when I was, you know, going through it, just because it's like it's really hard to just like say what you want or say what you need, or just ask for it, because you feel like, are you a burden? Are you putting people out, or are people going to judge you or think that you're too soft, or like that you're entitled, you know, all these things that you can build up in your head. Whereas actually I found people really like to know like where they stand, and it's an opportunity for people to know you more, like that, oh, this is what you like, thanks for letting me know so I can adapt, or, you know, like it gives people a chance to like meet you where you're at as well.
Yeah.
And there is, I think that's why when I initially went into like coaching people, like I initially started with the boundaries thing, because I like setting boundaries in my life has just been one of the things that has like helped me heal so much. But I never, somebody suggested like that it's related to highly sensitive people, and I never made that connection before. But then like looking back on it, it totally is, because it's almost like we can feel everything so deeply. So the thought of making someone else upset is like scary, because that makes us upset. It's almost like this kind of enmeshed thing sometimes. So I think it's definitely like an important part of a thing. And I think like we should talk about the tips as well. Like I guess that's one of them that I would say, like as a tip, to know your limits and set your boundaries, communicate them, like be honest.
Yeah, I love that. And
what advice would you give?
And say it again.
What advice would you give? Like what tips would you give people?
So one that you've made me think of there is like, basically I always say it's like your operating system. So basically know your own operating system, know yourself, know what you need and what makes you work and operate as, I don't mean work, but I mean function as optimally. Excuse me. And based on what you've said, Lisa, it's like, and say it. And for me, the word boundaries, I love boundaries, but I think sometimes people have the impression that it's like a big wall.
Yeah.
Like that, I feel like it's like, oh, like my sister has to be on, like you have to be on time when you're meeting her. Like that is a strong boundary, you know. She manages it when I'm late, but you know, that's her operating system. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like when we used to go out, as I said, when I was younger, people used, like my friends used to be like, okay, are you sit in there kind of out of the way, do you know? And that was like, because they know my operating system. So I think the same with food and different things, like I need to sleep, I need to like go to bed at a decent time. And so these are my operating system. And I think as we get older, we do start to get more sure of what our operating system is, but like really studying yourself and knowing yourself, and as Lisa you've said, is like advocating and saying what you need to those around you, with the view of course they want to help you to feel good and thrive, rather than seeing that it's going to be a deal breaker in any way. It's just, it's just how it is, you know. That's my tip, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if it is a deal breaker, it's just somebody that you maybe can't have in your life, as extreme as that is, because you can't change yourself like in that way. You just can't, like, you know, and you need people around you who are going to be supportive and understanding and, you know, easygoing about those things, because that it is what it is. Like you can fight against yourself all you want, but it's never gonna, you're never gonna actually change like those sort of things. They're just innate, you know. It's just part of your essence more so than like something that you can try to work on, you know. And obviously shouldn't wrap ourselves in bubble wrap at all. Like I don't believe in that, but like I just think for so long as well, like for me it's just with the job and everything, I just always thought like this is something I have to build resilience. I have to like, I'm getting triggered because there's something in me that I have to like work on or heal or deal with. And then after a year, I realized like nothing had changed. So I was like, well, maybe like this is just who I am, and maybe this is not a fit. And it's like knowing when to walk away when something is just not a good fit and not a good match for your energy and your like temperament and all of those things that are, you know. So yeah, that would be my tip, is to like honor it and respect it, embrace it, and don't fight against it. Don't try to, you know, it can be an annoyance at times. Sometimes I do wish I was like, I had the energy of other people, or I didn't need to sleep as much as I do sometimes. Like I wish those things, but like my life goes so much smoother when I accept it and I embrace it and then I take action like to honor it. Because yeah, it's just, it is what it is, you know. So I think
and I love there as well that you mentioned, you know, growth and doing our best in that way. So there is that line, isn't there, between trying and then just being like, oh, it's just not fit. You know.
That is the thing.
Factor as well, because it's about being making the environment around us perfect. Ultimately, we're trying to become more at ease with all the parts of ourselves and become, you know, steady and centered in any situation, whatever's going on. But definitely if it's an ongoing thing that feels completely depleting or is just going against it, then it's something to be looked at for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Okay, so we're already at half an hour. I feel like we could talk about this like all day, and we already have had so many conversations about it, because I think it's just really nice to meet someone who's like gets it, you know.
Yeah, and I hope the same. Like, I know I've really enjoyed the conversations in this group and from people's comments, because it always gives you things that you haven't thought about before, different angles, and it does make you feel like you're not the only one navigating being highly sensitive. Like, I think so many people actually are highly sensitive but don't know about it. So for us, whoever is in this group, that we do know that we are highly sensitive, and that, you know, it's a great thing, and it's something to reprogram ourselves to realize that it's a great thing. And so and
that's what I would say. Like, that's what I want for the group, is to just for everybody to feel comfortable to just share and like get to know each other and like have a shared experiences. Because I do think another tip is like find a community, you know, because you can feel like, you know, I think a lot of highly sensitives maybe felt like the black sheep in the family or the odd one out a little bit, and like, so I think it's so important to create a community of other like-minded people who understand it and who get it, and who you can work with in business, in life, like just friendships, all those things. So like, I really want people to like feel comfortable to share, and I'm going to try to provide like what you guys want. So if anyone has any ideas of what you want me to do in the group, I'm very new to Facebook groups, but send me a message and I'll like try to do that. But I'd like to do like interviews and like this. We should have another talk maybe sometime, or anybody else who wants to do like a conversation like this. I enjoy it, and I think it's helpful for other people as well. So I want to do more things like this with the group.
And me and Lisa have figured out the technology of how to actually do this.
Oh my God, the stress! It so long.
It worked. We did it.
Yeah. Now that we know, I'm actually delighted. Yeah, I'm really delighted about that. It took so long to figure it out. But
yeah, and I just want to say I'm delighted that Lisa is going to be, you know, facilitating this lovely online community, and I'm so grateful for everyone I've got to know through it. I'm obviously still going to be in the group, but I just I feel like I wasn't given it, and I've said that on the group before. I was like, I'm not giving it the right energy that I want into this space, and so I'd like to be part of it rather than kind of like not leading it but facilitating it. So that is here, and looking forward to whatever comes in terms of interviews and posts and stuff. So that's it.
Thank you so much. And thanks for creating a group like this. I think it's really good. I think, you know, it's much needed. So thank you.
it was for my own benefit, and I really
yeah. Great. Okay.
Sign off. Thank you for anyone who has watched the replay, and maybe give us a comment below if you did.
Yeah, if you have any questions for me, message me or let me know if you have any ideas for the group, or you want to know more about coaching or anything like that. Just send me a message, and I'll be happy to answer. And thanks so much, Kira.
Okay.
Bye, guys.